and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to give you a little tour around our kitchen just to sort of share with you the things that I've put in place to prevent any cross-contamination from gluten, because although whilst I'm gluten-free, Neil isn't, so we do have things in the kitchen that do contain gluten. Over the years I have reduced that down, so we don't have things like flour and things like that, because that is something that I don't think you can get every bit off from the work surfaces, so I think it's easier just to cook with gluten-free flour. But Neil does have standard bread, and he does have other things that contain gluten, so obviously we have to be cautious and do things in a certain way. So I thought if I just shared with you what we do, and it may just help a little bit when you're planning your kitchen sort of layout and things like that as well. So it's just good to share some ideas. So yeah, so I just thought you'd like to have a look around. Okay, so I just thought I'd start our little kitchen tour with a peep into our fridge. Yeah, so with the fridge, more or less everything in there is gluten-free. There's HB sauce, which is Neil's, that's not gluten-free, and then some sausages down there, they're not either. The meat on the side is. What I do with anything that's in the fridge, I do tend to cover it all the time, just to make sure that if there was anything in there with gluten, then it doesn't fall onto gluten-free foods and I'm all good to go and it's fine. I do always have a separate butter pot. Now, I've popped a label on there today because I think if you've got a large family, it's better really that you do put a label on the butter pot. For me and Neil, what I normally know to happen is that Neil's butter's up there, so that's the one he uses, and then mine's there. But because it is same butter that I use, because I use that a lot to bake with as well, as I say, a label really does do the trick, and you know that you've got the right one. So yeah, so that's with the fridge. And then the jams and sauces and things, when we use those, we always use a clean teaspoon to spoon that out, rather than, you know, getting a knife and re-dipping it in there, and that just prevents obviously cross-contamination that way as well. So that's the fridge. The freezer, we tend to, how we work it is the top, everything in the top is gluten-free, and the middle one is things like spare meals and things like that. And occasionally if I do have anything that has gluten in there, I'll just wrap it well and make sure that, you know, it's not going to affect anything in the freezer, and then that's absolutely fine, because obviously you have to utilise the space. But wherever I can, you always ensure that Neil's always go at the bottom there, and then that's absolutely fine, so we know that's all safe that way as well. Okay, so I do keep my utensils out, but to be fair, I don't make a lot of meals that contain gluten on the top, so there's no risk really of anything splashing onto them and cause any problem. If you are going to do, like if you're a large family and you are going to do meals that will splash, then probably I'd be sort of mindful about where you're storing utensils, because, you know, I know it can happen. It's sort of, it can get a messy job, can't it, cooking? So yeah, so that's how we work it. In this cupboard here, every single thing in this cupboard is actually gluten-free. So whether it's naturally gluten-free or it's like a specialist product like the Worcester sauce, and I've got some soya sauce at the back there, that's gluten-free for doing like stir-fried rice and things like that. But everything, you know, as I say, is gluten-free, and it does make life so much easier when it comes to cooking and baking, because it just means you can grab anything out. At one time, I did used to use ordinary flour, and like I've got that in a bag there, I did always have it in a bag just to ensure that no flour went onto the shelf. But now I don't use I don't use standard flour anymore, because you could get that film of flour when you always think you've cleaned down really well. There could be a film of flour, and I just think it's not worth risking it anymore. So I just bake with gluten-free flour the whole time, and it works, you know, so that's just perfect. But Neil does have other things. So Neil has his bread, and Neil's bread's kept over there in his bread bin. So we know that's all absolutely fine. So yeah, I mean, say it's just not crossing anything over. So yeah, so that's it. So my bread, I actually is in there in the cupboard that goes on that top shelf. Generally, that's where I put it. It's that's actually a Warburton's white cob with sourdough, a gluten-free one, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's my favourite bread at the moment. It's out of its wrapper at the moment because the wrapper had ripped, so I had to transfer it into a bag. Again, everything in there is gluten-free. It's just over the years I've ended up just that we use more or less everything that's gluten-free naturally, really, and it does make cooking and things like that so much easier. But I never ever feel like I miss out, and Neil doesn't feel like he misses out either. So this is a bit of a feeder cupboard, so when I run out of anything, the little cupboard that I just showed you before, I grab something out of there, and then that then goes on my shopping list for next time when I take it from this cupboard. And again, I think absolutely everything in there is gluten-free. We've got a little cupboard in the hallway, and I keep Neil's pasta in there, and then we've had under the stairs kitted out as well, which I might just show you afterwards. And we have like my pasta and my cereals in there as well. Neil's cereals on another shelf, but it's just you know, trying to juggle it and fit it all round. Now, we don't have a separate toaster in our kitchen, but what we do is put a clean piece of foil on here. You could just use a tin, and to be fair, using a clean tin is actually less wasteful than using foil like I do. And how we work it is we grill my bread first, and then Neil will grill his, and then we throw the foil away and we put fresh foil on, and that's how we work. I mean, when Neil's in work through the week, I'm only using that tray, so I will use it a couple of times because I know that Neil's not using it in between. But at the weekend, that's how we work it. So we do mine first, do Neil's, throw it away, and then if at any time I'm in any doubt, I chuck it out. That was one of my college lecturers said that, if in doubt, chuck it out, and I think it's a really good thing to work on. Okay, so that's our grill pan. General thing with the kitchen is just keeping everything really clean. So worktops, just wipe them down before you start anything is what we tend to do. Keeping like your cutlery drawers, that we keep our cutlery drawer nice and clean, just so there's no crumbs in there, and I'm forever like wiping them out to make sure they're okay. And then tea towels and things like that. Tea towels are over there on the radiator. But with tea towels and things like that, what we tend to do, we have a pile of those. So if I feel that a tea towel, if I've used it to wipe anything and I'm a bit unsure, I'll just get a fresh tea towel out. Ideally, in an ideal world, that you would be able to use a dishwasher, and I'd say that's the dishwasher's the best things for keeping your pots nice and clean. But our dishwasher's on the blink at the moment, so we're having to use just nice traditional hot soapy water, which does the trick. Just make, I was saying, I'm trying not to do the video that I'm saying to you what to, I'm trying to say what I do, but I just make sure that all our pans and our pots are nice and clean, and yeah, and that works great for us. And I have, yes, so that's the tea towel one. And then just thinking about baking, I have a little supply of things for baking in there. I thought you might like to have a peep in there. And we use lots of tin foil and baking paper and things like that for when I'm cooking as well, so they're in there. Thinking about snacks, so me and Neil have got our own little tub. That's my tub with snacks in. There is a crisp tub at the back, but that's depleted at the moment. My friend's going to bring me a supply tomorrow, and that's Neil's snacks. The nuts are actually gluten-free, but there's some biscuits in there that are not. So yeah, so that's how that works for us. So yeah, so basically that is our kitchen. It is just a case with gluten-free of just keeping it all clean and just being on top of everything really, and just wiping down before you start doing any food prep. But again, I've gone back to saying what I think is good to do rather than saying what we do. Sorry about the dripping tap then, that's another thing we need to get somebody out to do. But yeah, so that's basically it. And yeah, I don't know, I'm going to show you because I think I'm nosy and I sometimes like to see, but that's my sort of, you know, my baking cupboard with all bits and pieces in there. And again, it's just keeping everything nice and clean and tidy, and you know, and just being scrupulous really, and ensuring there's no sort of residue on things. And that's what we do all the time. And a dishcloth and things like that, it's fine to use the same dishcloth. Obviously if it gets a bit grotty and you feel that there may be gluten cross contamination, then you need to just throw that in the wash. And I tend to sort of put it in a bleach solution at night, but that's more the fact because I just like to have a fresh dishcloth every day. Okay, so that's the additional bit of storage we've got under the stairs. We had that kitted out with some shelving quite a few years ago, and it works really well. So all my gluten-free stuff's there on the top, and the things that I use, then Neil's cereals down there, and that works really well as an additional sort of backup. In an ideal world, eventually we will get a pantry in the kitchen, but for now it's fine to dot things around like this and it works well. So yeah, so that's that. Okay, so that's a tour around our kitchen. I really hope that you found it useful, and there were a few bits and bobs that I shared that you may want to pop into place yourself. Both me and Neil practice the things that I've sort of shared with you today, just to ensure that my diet stays completely gluten-free. And once you do get certain things popped into place, it is really sort of plain sailing, and it just becomes part of your daily routine. You don't even think about it. Once my sister-in-law, when they were staying, said to me, you want to video what you do around the kitchen, because I take so much for granted, just like rinsing my hands in between things and stuff like that to make sure I'm not transferring gluten onto my gluten-free foods. But I don't think about it, I just do it with, you know, sort of second nature. So yeah, so it's just good to show you anyway the basic things that I've popped into place. If you have any questions or there's something that you think, oh, I've seen that, I'm not too sure what I mean, just pop me a comment below, and of course I will answer that. It's absolutely fine. Any questions at all about anything I share, I'm always here and I'm happy to answer them for you. So yeah, so it's been lovely showing you around today. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again really soon. All right, take care and bye for now.